Hello and welcome to episode 19 of the VisWorld Weekly Podcast for July 13th, 2009. So before we get started, I'm sure if you've hit the website, you've noticed there's been a lot of changes going on this week. I've upgraded to a new version of RPX so that you can authenticate with Twitter and several other services for your comments. And I've also added full Facebook Connect integration. So come on to the website, try it out, let us know what you think. Also this week, I would like to send a special thanks out to Piero Zagami, who was kind enough to write up a lengthy description of his UNSCR report that we talked about a few weeks ago. Now this is the UN Security Council resolutions visualization. It's a huge pamphlet. He was kind enough to send it to me in PDF form so that I could review it and write the article, but it was just too much information. So he actually wrote the article himself. We published it on VisWorld. It's a great resource talking about how he compiled the data and gathered it into the report, along with some exclusive pictures of some of the visualizations in the report that you can only see on VisWorld. So go check it out, tell him how great of a job he did, and let's go ahead and get started this week. We're going to start off with hardware. Starting off hardware, I want to show a new infographic from the folks at Mozy. Now Mozy is an online internet backup service. They get great reviews from sites like Lifehacker, and they're very popular in the Mac community especially. Now what they've done is created an infographic to visualize just how big is a petabyte. Now they claim that they already have, I believe it's 1.5 petabytes of disk storage amongst all their users, but they compile an interesting series of visualizations showing how the cost of disk space per gigabyte has dropped from over $200 in '98 to under $1 now. All the way through how many movies, how many TV shows could you fit in a gigabyte, a terabyte, on up to some just staggering numbers at the end. It's a lot of fun. The graphic's huge, so go to their site and check it out. Also announced this week was that Lockheed won a $1 million contract from DARPA to create lightweight, effective, portable, augmented reality vision displays for the military. Now this is a pretty tall order, but this is DARPA we're talking about. They constantly make tall orders, and $1 million doesn't sound like a whole lot of money to do this with. But Lockheed Martin has already found a partner who already has some technology that's pretty close to what they want. So odds are you'll be hearing more about it in a couple of months as it actually comes roll out into deployment. Also, to wrap up the hardware segment, there's an interesting interview with a couple of industry analysts and experts from Game Trailers, where they talk about the Wii Vitality Sensor and, more interestingly, the Sony motion controller that they demonstrated at E3. It gets into some of the interesting stuff that you could possibly see with the motion controller, but how Sony's going to fall into the trap that they've already got an extremely expensive console in the PS3, and this is going to require an iToy and special games made to work with it, which is probably going to relegate it into the niche minority of PlayStation users. They also talk a little bit about some of the other augmented reality games that came out during E3 that for some reason didn't make a lot of press. We've talked previously about Invisimals, and they also talk about the iPet, which is a really interesting looking piece of technology. Hopefully this stuff will actually come to market and we'll be able to see it and talk about it more then. So that wraps up hardware. Let's go ahead and move on into graphics. Starting off graphics this week is a beautiful map of Hong Kong, made in SimCity isometric style. It's got 4 levels of detail, and it's simply set the bar for what these kind of maps should look like. Google Maps has got to take a tip from these guys and try to integrate some of this in. Obviously it's not satellite imagery, it's all cartoony type visuals, but it really gives a fascinating look at what are the busy centers, the condensed centers, the large open parks and such that you could find within Hong Kong. Also, an interesting announcement that came out this week is about a new product called Infusion. Now what they've done is worked with Amazon to integrate cloud rendering services into Amazon's EC2 cloud, so that if you can't afford or don't have access to a dedicated rendering farm, you can buy time through them, through their plugins, and render it directly on the Amazon cloud. Of course, the Amazon cloud is massive, so you get access to a huge chunk of resources. They've got plugins that make it work with pretty much any piece of software you can imagine: Max, Maya, After Effects, Mental Ray, V-Ray, and several others that I'd never heard of. So no information on pricing or anything that I can find yet, But if you're in the need of some massive rendering sources and can't afford to build your own, it's definitely an option you might want to consider. Now, the folks at Good Magazine this week, of course, they produce some really high quality infographics that they call transparencies. They publish one every week on Tuesday, so you'll be able to see it tomorrow, same day this podcast airs, hopefully. They've created a Flickr set where you can go and see currently about 86, so that would be a year and a half's worth of previous transparencies. It's a great resource, especially if you're looking for some inspiration for your own infographics work. Lastly this week is an interesting video from the Korean Independent Film School and company called Alarm. Now, the graphics themselves are stellar, amazing quality on the graphics, but the plot is pretty much non-existent. So it's an interesting technical demo. Here's some of it. So I don't have any technical information on how that was made other than it's really cool to look at. So let's go ahead and move on into the final segment today, science. Now, the Methodist Hospital in Texas, Houston, Texas, has worked with a wide consortium of companies such as TerraRecon, Megdyne, many others, to develop what they're calling the first anatomically correct virtual human simulation as part of their Plato's Cave scenario. Now, that's not entirely true. I've seen these things. They've been around for years, but it's still very impressive. They're obviously using the volume rendering cards provided by TerraRecon to do real-time volume rendering with interactive transfer functions. They've got videos of it on their website. It's very impressive to look at. Unfortunately, there's no real-world applications of it yet, other than some anecdotal interviews with physicians talking about how it's great to be able to plan this stuff out preoperatively. One interesting thing that's making a real buzz across the internet today is James Alabin's augmented reality business card. He got tired of your traditional phone number, address, website business cards. So he had a special set of business cards printed up thanks to the folks at Moo.com with an augmented reality marker on the back. You take the business card, go to his website, and throw it up there, and it shows an interesting visualization of himself reading off some interesting information. It looks like this.
Hi, I'm James Alaban. I'm an ActionScript developer. I currently work at Skive Creative in London. In my spare time, I like to build interactive artworks. Currently interested in things like augmented reality, multi-touch, music visualization, and generative art, things of that nature. So I build these things using ActionScript 3, processing, and open frameworks. If you'd like to have a look at my blog, it's jamesalaban.wordpress.com. Okay, thanks for watching.
No doubt that's a great way to get a future employer's attention. So the last thing we're going to talk about this week is another interesting tech demo. Now, if you're going to go try this out, I recommend you do it in Chrome. I was able to get it marginally working in Safari 4. Pretty much didn't work at all in Firefox 3.5. The JavaScript engine just wasn't up to handling it. But it's a completely JavaScript-based animated scene that does a pretty good job of simulating depth of field effects as a group of spheres swirl around, turn into a cube, turn into a sphere, fly around, and then disappear. It's all done sprite-based, so it's with canvas and doing some image processing effects to blur them. It's pretty cool looking, and the video that I'm showing is actually from him on YouTube. So you can go to the VisWorld website and see the video, and then if you're feeling lucky, go try it out yourself. So that's all I've got for this week. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you've got your tickets for SIGGRAPH, because we're going to be there and we would really like to meet you. So if you're going to be there, let us know. We can shake hands, trade business cards, and who knows, maybe you'll even get your face showing up on another VisWorld podcast. So that's all for this week. Until next time.